Hello everybody and welcome back to What If Ash Was a Martial Artist. So, after Krogonk's hatching, Ash decided to train the rest of his team so they could beat Sabrina because this battle personally meant a lot for him. Because the gym that used to be, the dojo that used to be their gym really meant a lot to Ash. And when Sabrina came along and took it just like that, it really just made Ash angry, so beating Sabrina meant a lot to Ash. So, after a lot of training, Ash would decide to do some personalized training with his Primeape. Because Primeape was, wow. It was different to the other Pokemon since it was, well, more disobedient and needed some training. So Ash would just sit down and talk to Primeape and understand it. He would ask it, why do you dislike me? Why don't you respect me? And Primeape, in Pokemon Talk, would say, when I first evolved, I knew that at your current skill level, I wasn't to be commanded by something like you, but now I realized that I was being too cocky and you are a lot stronger than I thought you were, and you're a lot more of a nice person than I thought you were. I thought you were just some jerk who wanted to abuse power and acted like he cared about his Pokemon when all he cared about was power. But I guess I was wrong. I slowly began to realise that. And now here I am. It would say that I'm Pokemon Talk, and I have to somehow understand this. As Primeape wouldn't be speaking with just Pokemon Talk, but through its heart, and Ash would understand what it's saying. So, to test Primeape's obedience, because he was still skeptical, you can't really blame the guy after it continuously disobeyed him, he would decide to test it against Poliwrath, one of his strongest Pokemon. Primeape would use Mega Punches, Poliwrath would use Ice Punch. Both attacks would collide, doing a lot of damage to both Pokemon. Ash would call for a low kick, which would sweep Poliwrath's legs. But Poliwrath, well trained by Ash, would quickly use the momentum of it falling to spring back up and punch Primeape in the face with a nice punch, which sent Primeape flying back. Primeape would have taken a lot of damage, but it wouldn't disobey its trainer and blame it for what's happening to it, and would just continue battling. But in the end, Ash already had gotten his result, that Primeape now respects him and would stop the battle. Sorry about that, I have a little, I'm coughing a bit, but this show must go on, no matter what's happening, yeah. Anyway, Ash would decide to have some personal training with Krogunk, even though Krogunk is a Pokemon that can poison him and kill him at any moment, probably. This Ash is a lot stronger than the one from the canon timeline, and I'm pretty sure that the canon timeline Ash is the most physically strong out of all of the protagonists. Let's be real, he's not the most training. He's not the strongest out of training. That probably goes to his counterpart Red, or Gold, yeah, one of those two, but he is up there. But anyway, going back to the point, he was quite physically strong in the original timeline, but now that he's a martial artist and does a lot more training, he's probably going to be even stronger than that. So he would train with Krogunk personally, training it with poison jabs and brick breaks, which would make Krogunk and him stronger. Mainly Krogunk. Ash would actually underestimate how much stronger Krogunk had got. because he didn't really know about how experience really works, because the egg that he had received from Kyo was not actually his. It actually belonged to Maylene from the Sinnoh region. It was actually her egg slash Pokemon, but she decided to ship it to Kyo because she had a full team of Pokemon. And then Kyo gave it to Ash because Ash was the only person who showed up at the dojo. So, because it isn't Ash's Pokemon, it would be gaining a lot of experience. Something that Ash would underestimate. So, after a lot of training, he would return it to his Pokeball. After all of that, he would arrive at Saffron City, where he would arrive at the gym, where he would have a flashback. In this flashback, it was a Sunday, a break day in the dojo, where you're not supposed to come and train. The thing was, Ash had nothing to do that day, so he came and was training on the dojo with Kyo, just one-on-one training. Both Sensei students were having fun, but then, what happened? A tall, sleek woman with a slightly taller man with spiky red hair would walk past the door. Kyo would know who they are, as his expression would turn serious, as Ash would say, "Hey, what are you guys doing in the dojo?" As then, Lance would say, completely ignoring Ash's statement, he would say, "Oh, hello, Leader Kyo." "Good afternoon," as Kyo would then respond. "Good afternoon, Champion Lance. What is your business here?" As then Lance would say, "Well, I have a challenger here for your title." As then Sabrina would step forward and would say, "Kyo," not even respectfully calling him Gym Leader Kyo, just calling him Kyo like he's some random person. Just say, "Kyo, I'm here for your title. I want to become the gym leader." She'll be speaking like an absolute robot. Instead, Ash, annoyed about what was happening as he was old enough to understand what was going on, would come up to Lance and Sabrina would say, "Hey, why are you trying to take our gym? Back off." Even though Ash was old enough to understand, like, people higher class in society, that Lance, higher class in society, to his sensei Kyo, are coming to take away the dojo. Yeah? He wasn't really old enough to understand that. He didn't really have a say in this, unfortunately. So, come say, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? This is our dojo. You can't just come and take it like that." As then before, Lance, annoyed, was about to tell Ash to back off. This was adult business. Sabrina would step in front of Lance and would say, "Let me handle this." As then, she would say to Ash, "Child, you're in our way. This is adult business going on here. I want this gym. I want to battle your master for the gym. If you don't move yourself, I will move you." As then Ash would say, "No, I'm not going to go away," still being the stubborn kid from the original timeline. No, he would continue saying, "This dojo is just as much mine as it is yours. No, it isn't even yours at all. What am I saying? So now, back off," he would say with a hint of aggression. Ash, not aware the dangerous person he's talking to, will continue saying stuff that he will eventually regret later. And then Sabrina would say, "Child, you are testing my patience. Move, as then her eyes would glow, which would cause Ash to float in the air, psychic energy surrounding his body, as Ash wouldn't be able to move at all, as she would send him to the ceiling of the wall, crashing his body on the ceiling, then down to the floor, and sending him to the side on the wall. Ash would be lying on the side, incapacitated, immobilized, as psychic energy would still be around his body, not allowing him to move. Lance would be appalled that Sabrina would be so brutal with a simple child who's like 6 or 7 years old, not old enough to really understand what was going on. As then Kyo would say, "Hey, you come here to take my gym? You came here to take my gym, not to assault my student. He doesn't know any better. Leave him alone." As then Sabrina would say, "If you want me to back off, battle me now. Use 3 of your fighting types. You're going to need them." As Kyo, a bit unnerved by what Sabrina had just done to Ash, would decide that he's going to comply with her requests. Because at this point, with the person he's facing, he's not even sure if it's going to be a fair fight with just one Pokemon. So he'll just use his 3 strongest, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and Hitmontop. These 3 had trained in the strongest fighting type areas of Kanto. They were pretty much Kanto's strongest fighting types. So Kyo, not wasting any time, would command for all of them to come towards Alakazam. Hitmonchan with Mega Punch, Hitmonlee with Mega Kick, and Hitmontop with Rolling Kick. All of them would come towards Alakazam with powerful and terrifying speed. Or that's what it looks like to Ash and Kyo. But Lance and Sabrina would just look blankly, like it wasn't a threat to them. As then, especially Kazam, Alakazam would look like it wasn't a threat. As then Alakazam would just, in the blink of an eye, its eyes would glow very quickly, which would send all 3 fighting types back. As then, they were all surrounded by psychic energy as Sabrina smashed them all around the ceiling like it was nobody's business with Alakazam. And all 3 of them were sent flying, all in opposite directions. As Kyo was able to catch Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, but poor Hitmontop smashed into a statue. But it was alright, don't worry about Hitmontop. It's not gonna die. As then, Lance would come up from the sidelines where he had decided to go into town and also battle would say, "From now on, Sabrina, the psychic type mistress, is Saffron City's gym leader. If you wish to reverse this now, permanent decision, you have to go and speak with me and the entire Elite Four to reverse this decision. As now, it is permanent." As then Sabrina would say, "Boss told me that this was going to be an easy gym to take over. Guess he was right." As then Lance would say, not hearing the last comment, but Ash was able to hear it. Same with Kyo, but they wouldn't really know what that means. As then Lance would say, "Okay, you will choose the badge that you want. And if you want, you can turn this dojo into the new gym, or you can make your own." But Sabrina would look at the dojo and would say out of pity, "You know what? Let's leave this dump be. These guys can keep this dojo. I'm going to go and make my own gym." That would be like a spit. That would be like a punch in the face. She was saying that their dojo wasn't good enough for her. They would have rather that she took the dojo and made it a gym and left them with nothing than leaving them with a dojo and having everybody in Kanto and the entire world know that they are weak and they were just taken, just like that, and left as a shell of their former selves. As then, Kia would say, "But why? Why did you come here?" As Sabrina would say, "You know, ever since I was a little girl, I have hated fighting type Pokemon, and I've always wanted to become a gym leader." And then, as I grew older and I got a job and became a trainer, my boss told me that there were lots of gyms and that I could pursue my dream if I liked. But the problem was, lots and lots of gyms were full of strong trainers. Trainers far stronger than the likes of you guys. Not counting that kid who isn't even a trainer. Doubt he'll be anything worthy of being called strong, as Ash would scowl from the sidelines, hearing that snarky comment. As then Sabrina will continue her little story, as then she would say, but her boss told her about Saffron City's fighting type gym. They weren't doing too well. Like, even if you compare them all around the world, even Faulkner's gym in Johto was doing far better than the fighting type gym, and Faulkner's gym was infamous for not being challenging even in the slightest. So the thing was that Sabrina came in contact with the Elite Four, especially Lance, and asked him if he could go and look for a gym. And Lance said that that's all right and that they can go and take over the fighting type gym because he didn't really like the gym either. So they came and the rest is history. As then Sabrina would leave. As then Ash would still be bound by the psychic energy, but the moment Sabrina stepped out of the door and returned Alakazam to its Pokeball, the psychic energy stopped binding Ash, and Kyo would just stand there in shock about what had just occurred. Flashing back to the present, Ash would look at the gym with rage in his eyes, ready to get revenge. As then, Ash would walk inside of the gym and would say, "Sabrina, come out now!" Demanding for her like she was his servant. And then she would come out and she would say, "Oh, it's you, that pathetic little boy who was with that pathetic gym leader. What is it called again? Kia?" And then I should say, "He's Sensei Kyo. Don't talk about him in such a disrespectful manner. At least he actually set up the gym with decency. He didn't just come and take a title like you did." As then Sabrina would say, "Who cares? But anyway, what are you doing here?" And I should say, "Just to state the obvious, I'm here for a gym badge, and I'm also here to defend the honor of the fighting gym. Of the former fighting gym. It's now a fighting dojo. I'm here to defend my sensei / master's honor, and the honor of all senseis and masters and gym leaders that came before him, and show you why you must never mess with fighting type trainers lightly just because of a simple type advantage." As then Sabrina would say, "So that's why you're here. You might as well just stop wasting your time and go to one of those knockoff gyms in the Kanto region that the Elite Four and the gym and the Indigo League staff will just accept as part of the 8 badges, because you and your pathetic team don't stand stand a chance in hell against me and my psychic types. So now I should say, if that's what you think, you are very delusional. All of these years of just staying complacent has made your mind fragile. Psychics are supposed to be smart and strong, but you are the furthest thing from any of those two definitions. As then Sabrina would get annoyed from this comment and would say, "You boy, you test my patience. It's time I show you why. All of you fighting trainers have tried challenging me over the years, and none of you have succeeded at all. Go, Mr. Mime!" As then as we send out Croagunk. Croagunk would surprisingly do a lot better than everybody expected, avoiding all of Mr. Mime's side beams, and would hit it with a flurry of poison jabs, which would knock it out, which would shock Sabrina. Maybe Ash was right. Maybe she wasn't as strong as she thought she was, and Ash was stronger than she thought. As then she would send out her Slowbro, but before the Pokeball responded, Croagunk would begin to glow as it would evolve, as it would grow in size, and spikes would grow around its arms as it would grow much taller and finish its evolution into Toxicroak, as then Slowbro's Pokeball would come out the moment Croagunk finished its evolution into Toxicroak. Slowbro would be wanting to end this quickly for its trainer, sensing the sense of urgency in her. As then, Toxicroak could try use multiple poison jabs to get decent hits off, but Slowbro just blast it back with a side beam like it was nobody's business, as Croagunk would be barely standing, and then Slowbro would finish off with a Hydro Pump. As then Sabrina would say, "To think that your little Toxicroak was able to take down Mr. Mime, one of my most elite Pokemon. Now that shows that I'm getting rusty and I should pick up my training." As then Ash would send out Primeape. Primeape would surprisingly dodge all of Slowbro's attacks because it was far more experienced than its poison-type counterpart, being able to easily dodge all of the attacks that were being thrown at it. As then Primeape would literally run on the ice beams and would jump from the attack and punch Slowbro in the face, knocking it out, which would shock Sabrina, I should then say. You know what? I can't believe that I'm actually being outclassed by you people, but I guess that it ends now, your luck. As then should send out Alakazam. I should try use a Mega Punch, but in the blink of an eye, there'd be a barrier stopping Primeape from landing the attack. Primeape would try punch the barrier to no avail, as Primeape would be sent back and knocked out in one hit. As then Sabrina would say, "Looks like I haven't gotten rusty, but you've just gotten lucky." So Ash would say, "Lucky, huh? I'll show you why I am strong now." As would then send out his Machoke. Machoke would then use a Mega Punch, but like Primeape, Alakazam would easily deflect the attack and send it back on Machoke, but Machoke would stand up, being much stronger than Primeape and any of Ash's other Pokemon. As then Ash would come up with a strategy to continuously try attack the barrier around Alakazam, like bam bam, bam bam, bam bam, trying to land Mega Punches all over the place. Eventually, Alakazam would get tired of putting up all of these barriers. As then Ash, seeing this opportunity, would strike true with a Mega Punch right on the face. This would annoy both Sabrina and Alakazam, as Alakazam's eyes would begin to glow with psychic energy, as it would then smash Machoke all over the place. On the wall, on the ground, on the ceiling, wherever Machoke landed. This would bruise and hurt Machoke a lot, as there'd be a lot of bruises and wounds all over its body. As Machoke would still be trying to get up, but there'd be a psychic energy surrounding it, like the psychic energy that surrounded Ash when he tried to get up from Sabrina's onslaught when he was much younger. I mean, he wasn't that much younger, but you know what I mean. As then it would try get up, but the psychic energy would be holding it back. It would try activate its guts ability, but not even that would be enough, even though the guts ability would be much stronger than it usually would be. But then Machoke would roar in a rage, not wanting to let down its trainer, as it would glow. It would grow in size, get slightly taller, grow muscle mass, and would grow a second pair of arms, as then the psychic energy would break around it as it stood up much stronger and with bigger muscles and taller as a Machamp. Machamp, still in guts, would roar, Machamp! As then Sabrina's Alakazam, still with psychic energy, cloaking its eyes and its body, would still glare at Machamp as Machamp would glare back. Ash, wasting no time, would call for a cross chop. This would hit for a lot of damage, which would send Alakazam back. And then, as Alakazam was falling, Ash would call for a Mega Punch, as then Machamp would quickly catch up with its psychic type counterpart and would bash it around with all four of its fists, smashing into it, punching it. The Mega Punches would be absolutely crushing Alakazam, punching all at once, every second. This would be bashing Alakazam around like this was nobody's business. This punching would go on for like 30 minutes straight, shocking Sabrina and Ash how Alakazam was still conscious for Ash and how Machamp was that strong for Sabrina. As then Machamp would land the final blow, which would be a dynamic punch that Ash called for, which would smash Alakazam through all of the rooms in the Saffron Gym. As then both trainers would look where they would see massive holes through all of the rooms until they'd see a fainted Alakazam on the room that is 10 rooms away from them, showing Machamp's power that gained from its evolution. As then Sabrina would ask, what the heck was that? As then Ash would say, this is Machamp's guts ability. Even though usually it awakens in status conditions, it sometimes awakens when it's angry. Actually, it always awakens. My mistake. As then Machamp would quickly power down. As then Sabrina would say, if you think I'm going to let you people just take away this position that I've been waiting for years to get, that's took me a long time to sustain, you've got another thing coming. As I have some reinforcements. And then Sabrina would pull off her current outfit and a familiar looking man would come out from the shadows with a weird looking Nidoking, and Sabrina would send out a Medicham. As then Sabrina would say, do you want to know the real reason why I took over? I mean, the other reason why I took over Saffron Gym? So basically, I'm part of Team Rocket, criminal organisation. You're probably familiar with them, aren't you? So, my boss, Giovanni, he knew how much I wanted to become a gym leader. So he told me about the gym where you train. And where you got this blasted Machamp of yours, from what it seems, it looks to be your starter Pokemon. As then I should say, yeah. And then Sabrina would say, so Giovanni told me to go to Saffron City and set up a gym there, so that we could also set up a Team Rocket base there, so we can go and set up stuff at Silph Co and make some little deals with Silph Co and its presidents. Yeah, you see, as an Ash would stand there, scowling at all of the dirty information that was revealed. As then I should say, so you're part of Team Rocket, huh? Figures why you're such a jerk. As then Sabrina would scowl, and then from behind he would hear somebody cackle as he would turn around and would see a very familiar face, Jaden. As then he would say, hello, Ash. Long time no see. Looks like you evolved that blasted Machoke of yours into a Machamp. Anyway, I used to be a Team Rocket grunt. After, while your little assault on me, I was downgraded. This fueled me to climb higher down the ranks. And you know that little Nidoran that you rescued? I found it. I found the Nidoran. It was trying to run from me, but I found it, caught it with Sandslash, forced it to evolve, and then did a very painful procedure on it, what I like to call Force Burst Surge. Burst Surge is the name of the technique we Team Rocket used to enhance Pokemon that cannot Mega Evolve or use Z-move. I mean, yeah, every Pokemon can use Z-moves. Scratch that. So, Jaden actually said, Burst Surging is the technique that us Team Rocket members use to enhance Pokemon that cannot Mega Evolve. As then, the Nidoking would look at Machoke. It would recognize Machoke as the Pokemon that tried saving it, but Nidoking would be being controlled by the Burst Surge. It wouldn't be awake enough to snap out of what was happening to it. As then, Jaden would say, anyway, it's time for us to teach you a lesson, Ash Ketchum. As then, both Pokemon would come at Machamp, but Machamp wouldn't want to attack its friend and would first, in its rage, awaken its Guts ability and would punch Medicham in the face with a Mega Punch, immediately knocking it out because Medicham was one of Sabrina's weaker Pokemon. The three that she used in her battle with Ash were her strongest Pokemon and her main ones. So Medicham was out, as then it would just be Machamp and Nidoking. Nidoking would be holding itself back from attacking Machamp, but Jaden would keep pressing the Burst Surge bracelet, trying to force Nidoking to attack. But eventually, Nidoking would just run away, as it didn't want to attack the Pokemon that tried to rescue it. And it would run away into the wild and would demorph from its Burst Surge form. As then, the operation to ambush Ash had clearly failed because, well, Nidoking had bailed on them and Ash was just too strong. And then Ash, after the little thing, would quickly come and grab Sabrina's collar and would ask her, "Where's Giovanni? I want to meet this guy." As then she would say, "He's in Silph Co," immediately giving her boss's current location away, as Ash would push her to the ground. I would then say, "Okay, time to leave." As then Machamp would demorph out of its gut form. And then both Sabrina and Jaden would go to Viridian City. Ash didn't know that they went to Viridian City, but they had gone because there was a base there that was hidden very under the gym. But as Sabrina escaped, a gym badge dropped from her pocket, and Ash would retrieve the gym badge. After that, Ash would go outside of Saffron City and would tell Kyo the good news and would tell him about how Team Rocket was also part of the plan that took away the gym from them. Kyo would be glad about this and would then say, yeah, thank you. It's a good thing that you got rid of that. And I'm sorry for that. That was like some music that was in the background. Yeah. Next time I record, I'll try to tell my neighbours to quieten down, you know. As then, after that, we would then see that Kyo would wave goodbye to Ash as they were both leave. After that, Ash and his Machamp would then go to Silphco to go and deal with Giovanni. As then Giovanni would say, as then they would find Giovanni. And there wouldn't be any Team Rocket grunts. Know why? Because in this timeline, Ash and in this timeline, Sabrina had taken the Saffron City gym, which established a base in Saffron City, which allowed Team Rocket Grunts to already come and set up for Giovanni over the years, for Giovanni to just come in, take resources from Silphco, and leave. Ash would say, Giovanni, I'm not going to let you leave with whatever you've stolen from Silphco. As he would force a battle with Giovanni, sending out his Poliwrath and Onix. Onix would then quickly try using Earthquake to do some decent damage. Poliwrath would just jump above the attack and would knock it out with one Hydro Pump. After that, Giovanni would send out Rhydon. Rhydon would put up a better fight than Onix with a lot of Horn attacks and Earthquakes, which would do decent damage to Poliwrath. Poliwrath would finish it off with an Ice Punch and a Hydro Pump. After that, Giovanni would decide to send out one of his stronger Pokemon, realizing that if he didn't switch up the pace soon, he was just going to lose, as he would send out Golem. Golem would use constant Earthquakes and Rock Blasts. Shouldn't do much, but surprisingly would avoid all of the Water and Ice moves from Poliwrath, as then Giovanni, seeing his opportunity, would reveal the Burst Surge band that he has, as he would press it, which would cause Golem to Burst Surge, as it would undergo the metamorphosis into Surged Golem. That's what I'm going to call the Burst Surge Pokemon, Surged. So, basically, Golem would use a bunch of rock moves on Poliwrath, which would do a lot more damage than usual. Poliwrath would try respond with a super effective Hydro Pump, but surprisingly, Golem wouldn't dodge, and would barely do anything to Golem. This would shock Ash, as then Giovanni would explain that in the development of Burst Surge, they made sure that whenever a Pokemon Burst Surges, similar to Mega Evolution, but different, they gain a new ability, but the little twist that they added in Burst Surging was that the ability nullifies the Pokemon's weaknesses. It works for especially strong Pokemon, as then Giovanni would call for an earthquake, which would crit and knock out Poliwrath, as then Ash would send out his Tata, Machamp. Machamp, seeing another Burst Surge Pokemon that was being treated like a slave, would just madden it a lot, as it wouldn't be mad enough to awaken Guts, so constantly attack Golem, which would do decent damage. It would use a bunch of dynamic punches and cross chops, which would do decent damage, because its weaknesses were nullified, remember? And then, eventually, Golem would body slam it and would paralyze it, and this would awaken the Guts ability. Plus the Rage, Machamp would awaken its Rage and Guts ability with such vigor and strength. The weakness nullified ability would cave, as in comparison to Machamp's natural ability, the technologically advanced Burst Surge won't be able to do anything, as Machamp would use one Cross Chop, which would cause super effective damage, knocking out Golem. This would annoy Giovanni that his technology was imperfect, as annoyed he would quickly return his Golem and would leave, phoning his top scientists, saying, "You useless fools, upgrade Burst Surging now. I do not want any other member of Team Rocket to use it until I make sure that it's upgraded." As then, Machamp would demorph, as Giovanni would leave. Ash would ride on Poliwrath's back to Cinnabar Island and make his way into the gym after passing a few riddles from Blaine. As then, in the volcano, he would find Blaine. Ash would use Poliwrath against Flareon. But the thing was, because they were in such a hot area, it was like the effects of sunny day, meaning that water type attacks were very, very weakened, and fire type attacks were very, very much promoted and upgraded. As then, Ash would call for a Hydro Pump, big mistake, which would only do decent damage. As then, Flareon would be able to get off a quick attack. Ash, catching on to the scenario, would then call for a flurry of dynamic punches, which would do a lot of damage and confuse Flareon, as then it would hit itself in confusion, knocking it out. After that, Blaine would send out Magmar. Magmar would use a flurry of fire blasts and flamethrowers to do a lot of damage to Poliwrath. Poliwrath would try use a Hydro Pump, which would do decent damage to Magmar. As then, Magmar would use Thunder Punch, which would then knock out Poliwrath instantly. This would shock Ash, as Magmar can only learn that as an egg move, as he would question Blaine about it, and Blaine would say, long time ago, in his youth, he found Magmar near this volcano as an egg when he was first starting out as a gym leader. And he decided to make it his Pokemon. As then, Ash would decide to send out Toxicroak. Toxicroak would actually avoid all of Magmar's moves, as it had gained a lot of experience from all of the prior battles that he had participated in the Saffron Gym. Ash would slowly begin to realise that his Toxicroak had a lot of potential and was very strong, as he would develop more confidence in it and would command for it to use a Sludge Bomb, having confidence that it would just one-shot Magmar. And it would do so, surprisingly, to everybody, as then Blaine would send out Arcanine. Everybody could immediately feel that Arcanine was different, as it would glare at Toxicroak, which would lower Toxicroak's attack. This would be Intimidate, an ability that Ash wasn't too familiar with, as he mostly studied fighting type Pokemon in the dojo, but he still knew what it was. as then he would try call for a sludge bomb. But Arcanine would just run through the attack and finish it off with an extreme speed. Arcanine would have literally taken no damage, which would literally surprise Ash so much, but it wouldn't surprise Blaine at all. Ash, realizing what he needed to do, would quickly send out his Ninetales. This would be the battle of Pokemon Red and Blue's version exclusive Pokemon. Ash would call for a quick attack as Blaine would call for an extreme speed. Blaine's extreme speed would overwhelm quick attack with relative ease, as then, from a distance, Ash would call for a Fire Blast, which would do a lot of damage to Arcanine. Arcanine would then use a Flamethrower, which would do decent damage, as then Ninetales would respond with a Flamethrower of its own, which would do more damage. Arcanine would then respond with an extreme speed, which would do a lot of damage to Ninetales, as Ninetales would respond with its own quick attack, which would do a lot less damage to Arcanine. It would be obvious to both trainers where both Pokemon's strengths and weaknesses lied. Ninetales' strengths was in special attacks, meanwhile Arcanine's strengths was in physical attacks. Ash would then call for a Fire Blast. Blaine, having no choice, would also call for a Fire Blast, but Ninetales' one would win out. Blaine would call for an extreme speed as Ash would try and go for a quick attack, but of course extreme speed would win out. This would go on for a while, and both Pokemon's moves were weakened. The only moves that were left were extreme speed and quick attack. This would look hopeless for Ash, as quick attack would not even come close to extreme speed in power and speed. As an Ash would call for a quick attack, as Arcanine would use an extreme speed. Blaine would say that the battle is hopeless and Ash should stop torturing his Ninetales. But then, a purple and yellow aura would appear around Ninetales as it was running towards Arcanine, as it would envelop Ninetales fully, as it would charge towards Arcanine and smash it, easily overtaking the extreme speed and knocking it out. Ninetales would stand victorious as Ash would use the Pokedex, which would identify it as Giga Impact. The Pokedex would also say that Giga Impact is basically the physical counterpart to Hyper Beam. Ash would close the Pokedex and would feel Ninetales' Ninetales as Ninetales would smile at its trainer. As then, Blaine, surprised and quite intrigued and happy that he had such a great battle, would come and say, "Great battle, Ash," and give Ash the badge. Ash would then ask Blaine for the whereabouts of Viridian City, and Blaine would tell him everything, having newfound respect for Ash. Ash would make his way to Viridian City Gym, where he would get inside of the gym, where he would find a tall man standing at the side of the gym. When Ash went to see who it was revealed to be Giovanni in his signature orange suit. As Ash would say, "Hey Giovanni, what the hell are you doing here? Don't tell me that you're a gym leader." As then Giovanni would say, "Of course I am, boy. You know so little about the world, and you act like you know so much. Anyway, because you are so annoying to me, I'm not going to hold back in this battle." And then Ash would say, "One more thing. If I lose, I don't get the gym badge. But if I win, I want you to shut down and disband Team Rocket." But Giovanni would say, "No." Annoyed, he would say, "No. If you lose, you never bother me or Team Rocket in their affairs ever again. And just to teach you a lesson, I'm going to use my strongest Pokemon." As would then snap his fingers, as from above he would see Jaden and Sabrina operating a machine. And then the machine will come down to reveal a Pokemon coated in very, very heavy armor. As it would throw some of it off and will walk out, revealing itself to be a Mewtwo. Ash would call for his Machamp. As then, Giovanni would smile, saying, your funeral, boy. As then Ash would command for a cross chop, which would easily be avoided by Mewtwo. Ash would then call for a Mega Punch, which would also be easily avoided. He would then call for a low kick, which would also be easily avoided. Ash, getting annoyed, would try coming faster for close range attacks, which would be blocked and deflected with Reflect and Side Beam to do a lot of damage to Machamp. No matter what Machamp did, Mewtwo always had an answer to it. This was very much annoying Ash. As then, Ash would try go for a Mega Punch with all 4 of its fists. One would manage to land an attack on Mewtwo, which would annoy Mewtwo, as then Mewtwo would begin using its psychic powers as dark blue eyes would glow from the suit's helmet, as then Mewtwo would move its hand around, smashing Machamp all over the place like it was nobody's business. Boom, bam, boom, bam. All over the columns of the battlefield. All over, dragging it all over the battlefield. Really making Machamp feel pain. It even slammed Machamp into the massive stone pillars all over the battlefield, which would damage Machamp a lot. Machamp would be wounded, as it would be bleeding and there would be bruises all over it, but Machamp, barely on its feet, would begin to get up. But then Giovanni would look at Machamp smirking and would say, why do you serve him? Why do you serve a trainer as soft and weak as him? Somebody like him will never get you to your true potential. Why do you serve him? As then, Machamp, hearing Giovanni mock his trainer, the trainer who saved it from that monster Kyo, because it thinks that Kyo is a monster. The trainer who helped it get to new heights, the trainer who showed it love and care. Machamp get up, as then it would roar, Machamp! As a fiery red aura would envelop it all over. Blood red lightning would envelop it as well, as it would unlock full access to its guts ability from the rage that it had felt from Giovanni insulting it and from being ragdolled around. After that, Giovanni would say, what in the world is this? Is it that thing from last time? Oh, he was interrupted from his thoughts as then Machamp would use dynamic punches and would come towards Mewtwo and would smash into it with terrifying speed with a flurry of dynamic punches, which would send Mewtwo flying back. Mewtwo would then come back and would use Side Shock, which would send Machamp flying back a bit. Machamp would then quickly regather itself and would kick Mewtwo in the face, and would then smash it in the face with Cross Chop, which would send it back. Mewtwo would then use Swift, which would do decent damage to Machamp now that they're fighting on an even level. Machamp would jump in the air, as then Machamp was so fast that it would be avoiding a move that is unavoidable, as would be avoiding some of Swift's stars. As then Machamp will come down from the ceiling and would smash into Mewtwo with a cross chop. Mewtwo would then try attack the now skidding Machamp with a Side Shock, which would send Machamp back a bit, but then it would awaken the Mega Punches within its fists, and then jump and come towards Mewtwo with terrifying speed and will pummel it with its multiple 4 fists, which would constantly pound into Mewtwo's face. Bam, 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 which would send Mewtwo flying back, knocking it out in an instant. This would shock Giovanni, as he had never seen anybody defeat his Mewtwo. As then, the champ would get on its knees and return to its normal state. And then Ash and Giovanni would go and talk. And then Ash would say, Giovanni, disband Team Rocket. Now. Then Giovanni would say, there's no way in hell I'm disbanding Team Rocket. And then Giovanni would snap his fingers, and then Team Rocket grunts would begin coming towards Ash and Machamp and Giovanni. They were about to send out their Pokemon, but then Ash would then grab Giovanni by the throat and would say, disband Team Rocket, or I'll show you why I am my dojo's top student. As the Machamp would also square up to Giovanni. Giovanni, realising who he's going up against, so he's not just going up against a regular 10-year-old, and would then snap his fingers again, sending his grunts back. And so would then say, fine! And so would then get out a very high-tech phone that looked like it was from the future. And so would then tell the female Team Rocket admin with red hair, and so would say, send the message that I'm disbanding Team Rocket and tell our son Silver the news. As Giovanni was leaving. And he would then pass Ash the badge and would say, I'm not going to lie, kid, that was a half-decent battle. But next time, you won't be so lucky in the Pokemon League. See how you do there. See how you compare against all of the other trainers in Kanto. As Giovanni would leave. In his heart, he kind of felt a bit relieved that he got rid of Team Rocket, because it was time for a new era. He had lied to Ash. Even though he was strong and quite mature for his age, he wasn't smart enough to know that Giovanni really wasn't getting rid of Team Rocket. He was launching something new, something far more powerful and sinister. After that, it's time to end that story. It's time to end this part. The next part will include the Kanto League or the Indigo League. This will be a real roller coaster, like the one that's going to happen in the Pulse series. I'll see you guys later. Bye.